Morning, everyone. You'll follow me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we just ask you to watch over this meeting today, be with all of our citizens of the county as they go about their lives throughout this week. In Jesus' name, amen.
We'll now call the Tuesday, May 28th meeting of the Linn County Commission to order. Are there any additions or corrections to last week's meeting minutes? If not, I'll make a motion that we approve them as presented.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
I'll make a motion, we pay the claims in the amount of $1,160,954.15. And huge chunk of that's on the debt service of $1,050,701.78.
Okay, I'll second that motion. It's been moved and seconded to approve the claims in the amount of $1,160,954.15, of which a large portion of that is our debt service payment on the jail. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Adds and abates.
Okay. Make a motion that we approve adds and abates 2023-296 through 301 in the amount of a negative $2,698.76.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the adds and abates 2023-296 through 301 for a negative $2,698.76. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Sheriff's report for May 28th. Total prisoners of 62, 14 releases this past week. Total prisoners in of 61, total farmed out of 1, total farmed in of 49. Total 911 calls of 87. Total jail contacts 4,722. Total calls for service 583. Total civil service papers served of 14. VIN inspections 3. New cases opened 14. Cases closed 15. Vehicle crashes 6. SRO activities 43. Calls for service. Bailiff contacts 179 with 59 calls for service and 11 livestock out.
And we had email from Randy with his report.
I got it. It'll pop up. Linn County Rural Fire responded to 12 calls this past week, brings their total to 251 for the year. They budget 500 calls per year, so they're running close to that as they approach mid-year here. Reminder that the Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks will be presenting the venomous organisms of eastern Kansas this evening at the Pleasanton Community Center at 6:30. It's free and open to all ages. AMR for May 1st through the 24th. Greeley, 1 call, 1 transport. Blue Mound, 4 calls, 1 transport. Centerville, 2 calls, 1 transport. Lacine, 22 calls, 13 transports. Linn Valley, 4 calls, 2 transports. Mound City, 16 calls, 9 transports. Parker, 16 with 6 transports. Pleasanton, 21 with 13 transports. And Prescott with 5 calls, 3 transports. So the total is 92 calls with 50 transports so far for the month of May. Okay.
And then we had executive session scheduled.
Okay.
Get in there.
How much time do we need on that one?
20, 30 minutes minimum?
30?
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion that we go into executive session for legal with our legal counsel, returning at 9:30.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to go into executive session with our legal counsel for 30 minutes, returning at 9:37. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. I move that we extend our legal executive session for another 20 minutes, returning at 10 o'clock. Moved and seconded to extend our legal executive session, returning at 10 o'clock. All those in favor say aye. We had no action from executive session. Okay, I'll go ahead and open it up for public comment. A citizen desiring to speak on an item not on the agenda may do so at this time. Discussion is limited to 5 minutes, and the commission will not take action at this time. Items introduced under public comment may become agenda items for a later time or date.
Hi, Angie Randall, Pleasanton, Kansas. Question for you. On your executive sessions, legal, just to say legal is not coma. There's no explanation. So is it for non-elected personnel? Is it for client attorney privilege? There needs to be something more given than just that.
Okay.
Because we need to know if it's something. You could be also discussing multiple things back there. Executive session is for one thing only. So you have, on your agenda, you have 2 executive sessions listed. You had one with an extension. Did you cover both issues on these 2 executive sessions listed?
We did.
Okay, so you got to follow coma, which
Okay.
would not be correct. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, Emily Thies, Pleasanton, Kansas. I wanted to talk about today that we were reached out, the anti-solar group, last week from Heartland. And I'm not sure if they're working with somebody in the county, but they have requested a letter from us with their project, if we agree with it, if we don't agree with it, but they would prefer something that we submit to them saying it's okay for their project to continue. And so my question to you is, currently we're under a moratorium until the end of the year.
That is correct.
Prohibition has been voted on in planning and zoning, and we're going to be having a public meeting with new regulations to submit to the county citizens. So not that our group carries any weight because we don't hold a county position here, but I would like to have some guidance on what is going on and if they're reaching out to us, what we are supposed to be doing. If there's a moratorium, can this project be pushed through? Because as far as I know, the regulations don't agree with their project because it's considered commercial, even though it's only 7 acres or under 10 acres.
We're still under the moratorium and we're not accepting applications at this time.
But the project's being discussed because they're reaching out to us.
Okay. At their level.
I think that they're working with Darren, but that would be a question for you guys, not for
Okay.
me.
Well, the Director of Planning and Zoning has an obligation to respond to customer inquiries. And if Heartland reached out to Planning and Zoning Director and asked what was the status of the moratorium and if there was a way to lift the moratorium for their particular project, then that's a valid question to ask. And what I think you just heard from the chairman is that the moratorium's still in place.
Right, I'm aware of that, but if we write a letter and we say we're against it, does that play any weight?
Well, any citizen who writes a letter in for or against anything carries weight. So I would always encourage citizens to take advantage of your rights to communicate support for or opposition to anything. And specifically in this case, the commission, unless you hear it the same time I do, has not taken any action changing their rules for the moratorium on any kind of solar.
Okay, but we're still having a public meeting for the prohibition. Our opinion is currently it's considered commercial. The power would some stay here and some leave the state. And if we were to say, yeah, that's a small project, let's go ahead and do it, that it opens up a whole new, I don't know legally, but a big bag of worms when it comes to the commercial projects that are a lot larger. So we just wanted the commissioners to know that this was going on. If you need to do your
Okay.
own research as far as the project and it going forward, we just wanted the county to know that this was going on right now.
Thank you, Emily. Is there other public comment? Okay, we'll go ahead and close public comment. Okay, Economic Development, Housing Committee. Jessica has spoken to Economic Development Chair about rolling the duties of the Housing Committee into the Economic Development Committee and dissolving the Housing Committee. She can't seem to fill the seats on the Housing Committee and can't get a quorum when they try to meet. The Housing Committee served its purpose when they were working with the countywide housing survey, but now the grant distribution duties could be moved to Economic Development Committee. If they need to do another study or something along those lines, they can form a steering committee to do that project, just like they did with the comprehensive plan. Airport received the appraiser's answers to questions from the committee, waiting on Mark, legal counsel, then we'll meet again and present recommendations to commission. Public Works, dust control went down last week. We were not able to finish the South District due to a weather delay issues. They'll have one more truck, which should finish the project. They'll know today when that'll happen. Parker's Senior Center responsibilities. Since the seniors are no longer using the building, the city of Parker would like to know if we are going to take over cleaning the building or if it is their responsibility. They handle the scheduling of the building for events.
What do we budget for that building, David? A year? What do we budget for?
Senior Center,
Yeah.
For Parker,
very little. I mean, we have just the senior elderly budget that covers more than that building. To nail it down to that one would take a little research, but we're paying utilities, maintenance, upkeep. Yeah, we'd have to go back and review what we've spent in different buildings to get you a good number.
Could you get us a number of what we have spent the last few years on that building?
And what we've made?
I can look it up.
thank you.
Is Parker willing to take it? I mean, if, say, we wash.
They said that they handle the scheduling. And like, it says here that they're asking if it's their responsibility for cleaning.
And,
So do we want to ask them if they're willing to take that building?
I mean, I don't, where you at? Where you guys at?
You know, I mean, and that's not to say that we couldn't have another congregate meal site there in the future. It just isn't feasible at this time.
I'd like to see what we spent on it,
Okay. I'm good at looking at that.
see what it has actually as far as the revenue on it.
Okay. Okay, the high risk rural roads award for the second half of 1095 of 370,000. David has a form that needs to be signed by all three commissioners to accept grant funding. This is for safety improvements on 1095 from 1650 to 1150.
And I have that agreement here, if you're ready to take a look at that.
Okay.
Yep. 2025 when it's supposed to happen, right?
Yep.
So this is the official contract for it? Well, this is this, we're sure this is what we want to do. We're not going to get a position like we are in Linn. I mean, is this the avenue we want to go?
So this is 1650 to 1150. I mean, it's through all the curves and stuff on 1095 line of sight. You have another plan you would like to put in place?
I don't have a plan for it. No, that's what I'm asking is what's our matching part of it?
4.
104 and theirs is 370, right?
I just want to be sure we don't get in the same position we are in Hell's Bend where we don't have a plan. We have more critical bridges.
Okay.
I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm just saying did he express to us where this fell on his 10-year plan?
when we were going over it. So what? Linn County 1095 is a highly traveled major connector that connects two major cities in our largest lake community and Miami County to the north. The 2021 LRSP for Linn County assigns a risk score of 19 for 1095 from 1150 to 1650. This road is very curvy, has faded paint, needs more warning signage, and should be cleared of vegetation along the length of the roadway. The LRSP indicates that the cost of the short-term repairs indicated for the plan should be $182,000. However, the county's on-call engineering firm estimates construction cost at $353,000 for the construction of the suggested improvements. The road sits at a high risk score and presents the risk for the county.
So we did one of these grants like that last year for another part of that road.
Correct.
This would be continuing with more of the road
It's
to
the
get
north
it
end
finished
of the
up.
road.
This is the south
Yeah,
end.
but the other one was the north end.
Correct.
1650 to 2000 or whatever.
Yeah. The K50, 152.
I'm not saying I'm against it. I just want to be sure. We had a guy come in here and tell us here, 4 months ago, he sat here and told us how bad the roads were. They haven't been striped, remember?
Mhm.
So I just want to be sure if we're going to take $104,000, this is the most critical spot in the county that we need to use it on. Because I don't feel like that when we take the money from the bridge, that's not the most critical bridge. That's my opinion.
Okay, Jim?
Who decided that was the road? I guess that's a question we could ask. Who decided that was the worst?
So I think it was all based off of the risk scores from the LRSP, local road safety plan, that was done in 2021.
Does that have to be signed today? Can Sean, next week?
I believe there's a little time, doesn't it?
July 1st.
Yeah.
But just wait.
Okay.
We've also got a note here that says there was 137.1 hours of overtime in road and bridge for the last pay period. And the question would be, do you want to continue with overtime on roads at this point? Because I think it was just done for a week at a time. It's what you'd approved.
What do you guys think?
We had 115 last week and then it's right.
Mhm.
So we've had
246, 7.
pay period, you said, right?
Pay period's a 2-week time.
2 week.
Oh, okay.
So we worked a little bit this week, I guess.
I would guess, I'm just.
Yep, so we're at 131. Okay. So we had another 15, 16 hours.
I can't see that did this whole lot of good myself.
Danny?
I agree. I think we need to define our expectations of the graders, the foremen, and the supervisors before we continue to pay overtime. I think we got to define their job duties and what we expect out of them. I don't know, have a trial and error period where if it doesn't work, we find a different way. But I think we got a lot of people running too wild right now.
Okay. So we're going to stop the overtime.
I'm fine with it.
Do we need a motion on that, David? Since we had a motion to start it
Well, I think if I remember right, looking back, the motion was for
that week.
that week.
Okay.
Did it a
So,
week at a time.
Okay.
I mean, not that a motion hurts anything, but you could, if you're in agreement, you could probably make a statement of,
Okay. We will not be funding overtime as a rule. We'll go back to our normal policy. Service request reports for Road and Bridge in 2024, 225 received to date, 44 remain open. From 520 to 524, 16 new requests, 5 that are closed, 11 are still open. Total of 3 road graders went down last week. All are back in service. The road plans went out to the foremans. Copies were sent to us. They're asking to let them know if they need any changes made. The foreman also had follow-up questions that need clarification on.
We talked last week about the percent of the road being done too, and I don't see that in there, so.
Okay? So we need the percentage of completion we are as far as getting across all the roads in the county, right? I don't see that as either. Road maps for ditches went out to the foremans. The project will take longer as operators may have to complete during rain days. Transfer station, the track loader went down with a final drive leak. They're using the South Shops loader. Mechanics will be working on the issue. Maintenance, the handicap accessible door opener went on the south door of the courthouse on Thursday. Okay. All right, next on the agenda, we have the Mulberry Limestone CUP.
Is Darren coming in and talking about it or what?
Probably could, but
So,
I can go get him.
So there is
the letter.
letter in your share point concerning that.
Yep, the recommendation from planning and zoning in response to what was sent back by the Board of County Commissioners, a minimum 200-foot setback from any road, right-of-way, or property line. Such setback shall not apply to any property line adjoining to applicant's property who provides the county with a written waiver from a setback and release from liability satisfactory to the county. It passed with a vote of 6-3. Questions for Darren?
I got a question as far as blast times. When will the blasting be done? Does anybody know?
I think it says it in their deal. It'll be from 7:30 to 4:30.
My concern is that close to a city that's, there's people that work shift work too, multiple shift workers. I think that could disturb sleep patterns for people that work night shifts.
Just a second.
And the setbacks, I don't know where, as far as 200 feet, how close can somebody build next to that? Is it 200 feet going to be the blasting? They'll blast up to 200 feet at the property line.
That I do not have an answer for. It's 200 feet. The buffer zone is 200 feet from property lines. As far as blasting inside the buffer zones, I do not know that. You'd have to ask them.
Jake, will you want to come up and answer those questions?
Jake Wade. Generally how it's done, the shot is drilled and then they'll call the
blasting company. Right now, what we're blasting today should be noon, 1 o'clock.
so they'll load in the morning and generally it takes at least 2, sometimes 3 hours to load.
You're blasting up there today?
No.
No.
Not there.
Oh, that's
Jasper, Missouri, and it'll be right at noon. That's usually when they try to, there's no late blast unless weather permitting. I mean, if there's a lightning storm, something, they'd have to shut down. So,
How close will we be blasting to the highway too? That's another question I have. You know, I mean, how far away from the highway will that blasting bit occur?
Well, 200 foot from the property line, then whatever it is to, you talking about 69 highway, I guess. I think it's another 100 foot or 120 foot over to the first lane.
Is there any way of notifying people going down the road? Because I mean, that's going to be loud. It's, you know,
Actually, they would never hear it. I mean, yeah, I don't think that it would alarm anybody in that aspect.
won't hear it.
whenever you blast now, we like keeping the fly rock down. I mean, you don't see it just skyrocket, I mean, like you see on TV.
Know what you feel.
You will feel it. You'd have to be paying attention.
I don't think anybody in a car would. No.
Or the rock they got up there now is laminated. So some of the ledges you'd have to shoot harder. This one here should just crump. But I've seen some of their blasts they've done across the road now. It shoots it up fine. They don't have to shoot it very hard.
Darren, how often will this CUP be visited?
Right now, it's up for renewal in 5 years. That's what planning and zoning suggested. The actual regulation says 10 years, but planning and zoning can add what they want. And to speak of the blasting, they had their blast guy come into the planning and zoning meeting, and they set seismographs up. The way he described it, when they do a blast, they set seismographs up, and that blast can only move on the ground for so far. And the way that he talked, it's not very far that it goes.
Are those sent to somebody each time you do one, or who regulates that?
There is Dean went through that. He's with Austin Powder. The seismographs is recorded, and that company, Light Seismology, I do know they do calibrations on them every year. Seismographs. Copy will be supplied to me, and with every shot.
So what happens if so there's an inspection company comes out and checks people's foundations, basements, all that good stuff.
Be independent.
So so you have a finished basement, they're not able to, in my opinion, do a fair assessment of their basement so what if there's a crack, and how do you guys?
They will go back through them seismographs. There is Kansas got a law. You go over so many vibration. You go over so much, they got a spec that they're going off of.
Darren, my question would be back to you is how come Pleasanton didn't approve their blasting at their quarry?
I wasn't here at that time, and I can't find anything in that permit why or why not.
So there will be pre-blast surveys done on the surrounding homes and annual inspections.
Yes.
That was set forth in the conditions of the CUP.
Yes. Would you like for me to?
Can you read the conditions?
Yes. The use shall be operated or proposed on submitted plans and documents in compliance with Linn County zoning regulations and all local, state, and federal regulations affecting such businesses. The conditional use be reviewed at the end of 5 years from date of approval. All state permits will be kept on file with Linn County Planning and Zoning Office. Hours of operation is 7 to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Heavy equipment hours of operation shall not include maintenance on equipment, loading or unloading of equipment for transport, operations that occur indoors, and operations necessitated by emergency situations. No storage of explosives on site, ingress and egress to 2400 Road and to be concreted. CUP permit to be renewed in 5 years, road maintenance agreement set by Board of County Commissioners, dust control, berm and buffers to be seeded with grass, pre-blast survey done to residents in the area and cost incurred by Quarry and done annually. A minimum 200-foot setback from any road right-of-way or property line. Such setback shall not apply to any property line adjoining to applicant's property who provides the county with a written waiver from the setback and release for liability satisfactory to the county.
Other questions?
Now, will it be blasted 200 feet? Will you be blasting at a 200 foot? I know you said that's a buffer. Will you blast up to the buffer?
We'd have to drill the rock to see how close where the rock actually runs on that south property line. But Austin Powder has done the blasting right across the road. And, they've actually shot closer than that to that house. They've got electronic cats. So 200 foot, we're plenty, we're safe. 200 foot.
I'd like to add to that. There at that previous quarry, the old Wake quarries, the gentleman owns a house there it's about 79 yards from where we stopped blasting. And the house has been there for about 45 years-ish, give or take a little. And he allowed me to inspect his foundation. I think he's got a 4-foot crawl space or something. And I saw one small crack on the east side. So it wasn't even on the side where the shockwaves, if you will, would be coming from. I understand everybody's concern on that, and it is a legitimate concern, but I think it's a little bit blown out of proportion because people don't know about it so much.
Yeah, but until you get into a situation where a homeowner's pissed off about their basement, and then your guys' insurance company, whoever's insurance company is going to be like, no, that wasn't we didn't cause it.
I mean,
I do
I understand what you're
the city
saying
all the
there,
time.
but at the same time, just because there's a crack, like George Nunemaker, for instance, he told me that he didn't have any cracks in his basement. I bought his house. There's cracks all over the basement. There's no rock quarry there. So what happens is you always have people trying to get something for nothing, and people got to watch out for themselves. And that's why they have these protocols in place. So things like that don't happen. So if we're doing the best we can by offering a free service to come inspect the basement. And if we're operating within the county, state, federal guidelines of blasting, then I don't know what else a guy can do. I mean,
It might be cracks that are within their regulations. Who's paying for my basement? Are you or the county? That's where I'm at. I'm protecting myself.
I respect
just
you.
like you are talking about.
I respect that.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
Okay, but at the same time, do you understand where I'm coming from about the cracks in the basements and all this? I mean, it's your husband, your profession.
Right.
You know the cracks.
Correct.
So how can you just, even though we're within our limit, how can you come and say, you're responsible for my crack? That's not fair to me. And I know
Because
you
when
as a
you
person, I don't
blast-
think you do that.
When people blast the ground, it moves the earth.
Okay.
It moves.
You're right.
Okay.
But not enough to do substantial damage. I mean, there's tolerances that will.
Back to topic, please.
So does a house right across from the existing quarry, does everybody that doesn't mean anything? You think I'm lying? Go look at it. It's been there for over 45 years, and it has one small crack in the side of it.
We're not saying you're lying.
Okay, well,
It's our job to see both sides of it.
yeah.
Austin Powder, Dean Manuel was there, spoke to the zoning. And we've used Austin a lot on blasting.
That's who Wade Quarries used previously too.
And they shot a Wake Forward. Never had an issue there. I believe that Summit's using Buckley powder now. I've seen videos of their shots and stuff. Nobody's complaining now, so, and we won't be shooting the car they will be, it didn't look like to me.
Okay.
And I want to add to that, so if we went to the 200-foot mark and we blasted up to it, which would be quite a way, like down the line from now, we would still be over probably 600 foot or so from anybody's house, you know?
But you're stopping them from using their ground too, then, is what I'm saying. And what if they decide they want to use right across the fence? I mean, what if they want to build something 50 feet from the property line?
Yeah, there's always a what ifs, I guess.
I mean, that's just what I'm saying.
I understand that.
You're controlling a little bit of, even though, or I feel you're controlling them a little bit, what they can do with their property also. By where you blast it.
Okay. So without any scientific knowledge, I guess, and I don't want to put a gray area in there, but what is it? Do you just throw some random number out there and say, I mean, all this stuff has been put in place for a reason, and they just don't come up with some willy-nilly number and throw out there to set these limits. I mean, it's done for a reason, you know? So I think a person needs to look at that also.
I mean, you guys can come in here and tell us facts for, to do it or tell us your opinion on it, but that's not facts either. I mean,
But there is a guideline though.
there is a guideline. Yeah. And there's
Austin Powder.
ethics where I have to, their value of their property.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm here for everybody. Just like if you had a house right there too, I'd be asking the same questions.
I think
I'm all about development in Linn County. Trust me.
Jake owns two close of houses where we're blasting. Austin Powder got guidelines. We went over the zoning and went through all the guidelines. Federal is.
We're just trying to make sure we're making the right decision here. We
Yeah.
got a query
Well,
8 years ago that we turned the CUP down. Is what I heard was because of the blasting, and no one here can answer me why we did it. And I don't want to get in that same stuff with you guys.
I think I did tell you that earlier, but they didn't offer the same service. They didn't say they were setting up seismographs. They didn't have any of that stuff. So that was,
I think it was decorative stone.
no, they were putting a rock quarry in there too.
They do sell decorative stone, though. That's how I know. So.
Yeah.
It was trying to rip it out of the ground.
Okay.
But I
Other
think
questions, concerns?
Now I got a little closing statement I'd like to read. You guys got time for it?
Okay.
I guess since the planning and zoning found the site suitable for a quarry and is an overall net positive for the county and the vast majority of the citizens, I encourage you to approve the conditional use permit for Mulberry Limestone to operate at the said location. I would find it very discouraging if few people were able to use my property for their sole peaceful enjoyment. And that's that.
Okay. Any other questions?
I don't have any.
Danny?
No.
I'll make a motion that we approve what number is the cup? 23 or 24-01? Darren?
Yeah, and the resolution number is 2024-13.
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 2024-13 for conditional use permit 24-01 for the Mulberry Limestone CUP with all conditions set forth by the planning and zoning and us accepting their findings as presented. Is there a second? No second?
No.
No? Okay. Motion dies for lack of a second. So do we need a motion to deny? Since it was approved by the Planning and Zoning Board?
I think that's the next step. If, you need to bring closure on it, otherwise you're just tabling it, kicking it down the road.
So is there,
Just, hold on, Jake.
and maybe what Darren was getting ready to say, isn't there something in the regulations on CUPs that now that you've sent it back to the planning commission and it's come
We
back,
can deny.
at this point, you have the option to deny. You could also set conditions yourselves at this point, I believe.
Correct. Okay. So what are we doing?
I don't think it's benefits I think it's catastrophic to the neighbors. I think doesn't benefit them at all. I think that they are going to get the short end of the stick, and I'm here to protect them. So I'm all about development in Linn County, but I don't think it's right. So they went around with a petition. They've voiced their concern. They've voiced their reasoning, and I'm not in favor of it.
So are you going to make a
we
motion
had-
to deny?
We had another rock quarry in Pleasanton that was denied. I feel like that we allow one person to do something and the next we don't.
But they also expanded the existing quarry. Nobody had a problem with that. Why are things put in place differently?
Because we don't do this type of stuff, Jake. We don't communicate. We just blow and go. And I know you're pissed off. I get
No,
it.
I'm not. No. I want a good reason why you wouldn't want to save money, because all I hear about is Jim Johnson wanting to save money.
You can sit up here all day and tell us that you're going to save us money.
enough.
That doesn't mean you're
Jake,
the landowner.
please.
You're not the operator. You're not going to save us nothing.
Goodbye.
Okay. So do we have a motion to deny?
Is that what we need, or?
Isn't that what we need?
Just need a
If
motion
that's
to
what you
deny,
want.
You gotta,
You're not going to approve
Finish.
with conditions, right? You're not going to add conditions? You're wanting to deny? Is that what you guys are wanting to do? Then that's what we need a motion for, correct?
I would say you're right.
Okay.
I'd make a motion that we deny the recommendations of the planning and zoning for the Mulberry Rock Quarry.
Okay.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to deny the Mulberry Rock Quarry CUP. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Aye. Motion carries 2-1 for the conditional use permit being denied. Okay?
Thank you.
One question. Jim, why did you deny it? I need to have an answer on that.
Why did I deny it?
Yes.
Because of the location next to the city, and
Location.
I don't feel that,
Has the county got any areas for rock quarries zoned?
I'll tell you what, I lived around the rock quarry for a long time as a kid, and I was a long ways from it, but I'd also seen the neighbors of what happened right. What happened right across the fence.
I think there's been a lot of changes since
There
then.
probably has, but I just,
Okay.
I agree with you. I think we should have designated area spots.
Yeah,
plans.
Jake spent a lot of money on land, just bought a house. He only owns 2 houses. He spent a lot of money up there already. And there needs to be some kind of I've been to a lot of zoning meetings. I think the zoning board done their job. They voted 63. But to have it denied like that, I'd say somewhere in the county, there needs to be, hey, this is zone industrial, this is zone for rock quarry. That way we don't have somebody building a new house saying, hey, I don't want it, it's built across from an old rock quarry.
Right. Okay.
Anyway, that's all.
Thank you. Okay. What else do we have on the agenda? We're going to talk about the historical committee at a later time.
I believe that's the intent. There's a number of questions that need to be answered before this Board of County Commissioners takes it up as a formal issue. So if I've taken
Okay,
the guidance from the commissioners, and I will do some research and get back to you as attorney-client privilege during an executive session.
okay. Anything else for today?
Just comment,
Something? Mr. Kagan just say that the attorney-client privilege on this critical. Did I misunderstand what you just said?
The commissioners had questions about the legal structure of some kind of historical committee or commission, and they need a legal answer. So if there is a decision made about a historical commission, it would be made by the commissioners, and I would hear about it at the same time you would, much like the solar issue came.
Would you entertain a question of what is the county trying to do in regards to this? I don't care, I just, what's the county's purpose of, is it to attract funds that you're giving to us? Or is it just control?
Oh, I promise I don't want to control it at all. I don't even want to be part of it, but I think we have to have accountability. And I don't think it's fair that we give, I mean, there's more to the Historic Society than just the museums, and we just write a $40,000 check and we say, here, take your funds.
Yeah.
I don't think that's fair to anybody involved.
I don't disagree with it.
So that's what we're trying to fix.
I don't disagree with it. But if that's the purpose of it, you've got a right to track it.
Right.
I ask. But I don't think you've got a right to track the rest of them. Just your part.
Understood.
Is that being fair? Track the group, but not a right to track mine. That I raised, we raised.
I think that's a legal question, and that's what we would be discussing between them, is to what the extent. I'll give you an example of what happens with a funding agency called United Way. And interestingly enough, United Way wants to fund the people that need the money most. And it's kind of counterintuitive, but with United Way, if you have a whole lot of funding from other sources, United Way typically does not want to provide money to you. So the commission may decide they want to go that direction. They may decide they don't care where you get your other money and how much, but they are setting themselves in a position where they can have the choice of who they give the money to, why they give it to them, and then where does it go after it leaves the county. Does that seem
Okay.
fair?
Yeah, that's fair. I appreciate the fact that you're trying to track me.
Thank you. Yep. Thank you.
obviously, Sunday afternoon, we had a hailstorm come through at least Mound City, Pleasanton, surrounding areas. I'm not sure how far it reached yet. I've already got several reports this morning from two different departments of damage to vehicles. I know there was some damage to, I think, one of the rooftop air conditioning units at the Justice Center. So I'll be filing a claim with our insurance, and I'm going to send a message out to all departments to please check all your vehicles, buildings, get me pictures, any information you can, so we can get that
Process.
process.
Okay.
Would you put my car in the house too?
Well, mine too. Shayna's got a cracked windshield out of the deal, so.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, what budget's coming up? So what do we? I know we've done it the same for many years, and I feel like that we need to get more in depth on it. I feel like that might help with a lot of things we have going on in the county, a lot of disconnect. So can we come up with a process the plan, David, this is your forte.
What, I mean, I don't know what you want.
I don't want to just, somebody come up and say, you know, last year we had $40,000 here, approve it. I don't agree with that.
Do you want more time spent with each person when they come in with their requests, just for questions and answers, or?
Yeah,
So, I mean,
I would like to
they
know everything.
presented a plan kind of for their department last year.
Kind of, yeah.
I mean, I would like to have the information from departments.
So that we can
Meeting, so
review.
I can get it out to you on the SharePoint and you can review it before they come in.
I would like that as well.
At the moment, I have just
Yeah,
sent
you
their
say.
budget information sheets out to them, and that the basic, we need to get started on this and get it done.
So like, kind of defining what capital outlay things they're going to be having coming up. Is that what you're looking for, or?
I think this is a time to, I mean, we had contracts from the trash compactor back in 89. We had a contract with Evergy back in 76. We had, and nothing's ever been talked about or reviewed. I think that's the time during the budget that we review all that stuff. Make sure we're not just to come in and we give you money.
Okay.
I don't know how we organize. I have no clue.
I think we need some direction on how you want to see it.
I mean, it's not about just what I want. What do you guys want? You think just a number is sufficient? I mean, we paid juvenile intake. Last year we got a little depth on it. We paid juvenile intake a lot of money for so many years. And then we finally slowed down and looked into their contract and we figured out it's not something we want to do. We did the same thing with the trash or the
Mental health.
mental health and then the trash deal too.
Yep.
Change the trash deal, I mean, we're in the process.
I mean, them are all things we found out during budget that we weren't doing correctly for.
Or that we could make changes on and do better.
Yeah, I think that's a time during budget that we
And I agree
address
with
all
you.
that stuff instead of coming here and having our own individual agenda each week to talk about something.
Okay.
So here's just what I've got so far. If we could get them submitted by the previous Thursday, I can get them on SharePoint. Like an explanation of capital outlay items.
Yep.
And there may be further instructions coming from the commission, but I mean, you guys tell me what you want.
I've been pretty vocal on it for my entire term. I don't know how we make decisions if we don't know where.
Just like the lagoon, was that in the budget? I mean, did we have that in the budget? Or,
No, and they're supposed to be, well, no, that was a trash. There's a special fund set up for it.
I
Yeah,
mean, we
that's the
didn't
thing.
have that actually, we just spent it later, right?
We had,
The lagoon at the park.
Without looking at last year's budgets, I don't remember it being in the budget. I think it was something from a report that came up that it needed to be cleaned out, but we'd have to look back at that.
Okay.
Jason, so when you're going through the budget process, I think it'd be beneficial to taxpayers of the county break down the process. This sounds simplistic. Explain the capital outlay, explain whatever item that you're doing.
everything that's included. Yeah, I agree.
Right. Thank you, Mike.
Like everything that's involved in their department. And I think it'd be a time where they, if there's a policy change, they don't, you know, if they don't like, I mean, if there's a policy they don't like and we discuss it then too. I mean, it's a time for everybody to come in, lay it all out on the line and make sure we're making the right decisions.
Okay.
When the money's.
So any policy changes included in there in regards to their department? Are you okay with that? I am. mean, we will be working on like the juvenile detention center and changes that we started toward last year that we weren't able to enact at that point, right?
Right.
We've got till July to do that, right?
Correct. July 1st is when we have to have our notice sent.
It's
And
like,
then-
you know, the statute, isn't there a statute that states we have to hold one of the 4-H buildings or something, David?
I believe so, but that's, again, something we need to look at.
Right. That's the type of things I want to discuss. Make sure we're giving the community what we have to. You know, statutes are up to date. They change every Friday, right?
Some of them do, yeah.
Okay. So maybe defining what's required by statute for each department? Is that a reasonable request? Okay. Jim, are you okay with that? I am. Okay.
Just like the STARS program, I'll use that for an instance. Wait, I'd like to see the financials on that before we just actually give the money out, you know, where that is. Because that's a middle levy to the taxpayers in Linn County.
I agree. I think there's a lot of stuff. I feel like that we run through budget too quick. I'd rather us be told we're not doing our job at the budget season other than every single day we come in here. So
Okay.
it gets old.
Anything else to request?
Have one more item when you get done with this part.
Okay. Will that get us further down the road?
Guess it's a start.
Okay, just got email from Darren. Say this, can you ask them what their findings are for denial for the record? That's UP. Okay.
I think that's a very good question, and for the sake of the county, make a record of what findings of fact that led to that. I think we talked about in one of our executive sessions, a case with City of Shawnee versus somebody, and it's kind of critical that if the person who was denied the conditional use permit were to want to appeal the decision someplace else, let's give whoever's looking at it some ammunition, you know, to side with us, so to speak. So some specific findings. We all went to that training, so we
Right.
know what we're looking for. So we're looking for those Overland Park v. Golden rules, and I'll turn that over to you.
Well, setbacks are like, that'd be one thing to me, you know.
They weren't acceptable, the 200 foot?
No, not off the property lines, and then also being that close to the city.
A finding of fact was some public opposition to it, that from the neighbors closest to it. That they had one here today, I think, and there have been others that have expressed it to the commissioners in the past. So the neighbors adjacent to or in the vicinity of the quarry expressed some significant opposition to it. That's a finding.
Okay. Danny?
Yeah, that's where, I mean, I feel like there was a,
Blasting that close to the highway too, to me. I mean, it's, you know, people driving down the road and not knowing if there isn't any warning.
So David, I'm counting 3 findings. Are you?
Right. Setbacks were not acceptable, too close to the city and blasting too close to highway, and then their opposition from nearby property owners.
Yes.
Do we need to come up with a written document stating this, or what?
I think you're it. I think the
Just
minutes
what's
of
in
the
the
meeting
minutes.
is the documentation. I'm 99% sure it's not good enough for the quarry that got denied, but it remains to be seen what they do next.
And
Okay.
obviously, I will send minutes out to all of you before the end of this week for your review, and if you don't like the way I worded it, let me know and
Get them fixed.
your minutes, and we can change the wording before it's approved.
Okay. All right. Anything else for today? I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting. Meeting adjourned.
Who's the